So this is Contemporary Chinese 2. We're looking at Lesson 2 or Unit 2, and we're looking at the first list of vocab. So we start off with everybody, 大家, 大家. And if you look at the characters for the word 大家, we are familiar with both of them. We have 大 for big and 家 for family or home. And so that's a conceptual thing with the Chinese. If you're addressing a big group of people, it's referring to them like a big family. We then have the verb to live. And this means to live in a place or a location, not to live in the general sense of, living or dying. And so we could say, for example, 我在学校的宿舍里住。我在学校的宿舍里住。I live in the school or the university's dormitory. 宿舍. 宿舍. Moving on to the word for day, we have two characters there, 天 and 日. 天 is used more for spoken Chinese, 日 is used more for written Chinese. So for example, if you are writing a news report or if you are writing a formal invitation or something along those lines, then you would write the character 日. What's interesting about these two characters in this word is that both 天 and 日 are a noun, and generally we know when we're talking about a quantity of a noun we need to add a measure word, but in this case they are their own measure word. So you, instead of saying 一个天, you would say 一天, or 两个日, you would say 两日. So in other words, you don't need to add a measure word like with other nouns. Moving on, 餐厅, dining hall, 餐厅. So what's interesting about this word is it sounds very similar to our canteen. And I often wonder whether the English came from the Chinese or maybe the Chinese came from the English. 餐 is a meal. 厅 is some kind of hall. So it's literally a meal hall or a dining hall. And then we've got this other one here, 食堂. 食堂. 食, the character 食 means food or food stuffs. 堂 is again some kind of hall. So again, a dining hall or a cafeteria. The main difference I can think of between the two is that 餐厅 can refer to a commercial restaurant, if you like, or a commercial dining hall. Whereas 食堂 generally is a place to eat that is provided by an institution like a university, which is not strictly commercial. And you'll find in many Chinese universities they have one or more 食堂, and generally within universities they will refer to it as the eating place for students and teachers as 食堂. Then we move on to breakfast, and you can see it's made up of the two characters 早 饭. 早 饭. 早 we've learnt before, I'm pretty sure, which means early or morning, and 饭 is also another word for a meal, a cooked meal. So this is an early meal or a morning meal. If we look at lunch, it's made up of the characters 午饭. 午 is for afternoon, and again, 饭 is for meal. So we've got a sort of well, when I say afternoon, midday, sorry, and so that means lunch, a meal that you have in the middle of the day. 晚饭, and here the 晚, I'm pretty sure we've learned before, to mean evening or nighttime. It can also mean late, and so 晚饭 means, well, they say supper. In Australia, we'd probably say dinner, and in Melbourne in the old days, we used to say tea. Next one, to sleep or to go to bed, is the verb 睡觉. 睡觉. And it's important to note with verbs like 睡觉, there are two kinds of verbs. There are verbs which are made up of two characters that are both themselves verbs. So, for example, we have, sorry, I'll just turn on my Chinese character input. doesn't like that. Here we go. Try again. 学习. And we'll see if that converts across. Sorry, my computer's running just a bit slow. I want to keep this as short as I can, but it looks like we might have hit a technical difficulty. So we have the word 学习, 学习, there it is. Try and make that bigger. 学习, and that means to study. Okay, it's not going to let me make it bigger. And both 学 and 习 mean to study. So that is an example of a verb plus verb combination, meaning to study. And what we have here is 睡觉. Oh, there you go, wrong character, 睡觉. Which is a combination of verb plus, they call it object in the textbook, but really objects are nouns. Okay, now why is this important? It's important because later on we're going to learn that in certain special circumstances, verb plus object type verbs, like 睡觉, the two characters need to be split and then something is put in between them. Whereas with verb type verbs, where both characters are verbs, the two characters are never split. Nothing's ever put in between them. The other thing to say about 睡觉 is you need to be very careful of your pronunciation, particularly the tones there, because later on we're going to learn a word for a particular type of food, and that was the mistake I made earlier on. Let's move that out of the way. Which is 水饺. And some of you may have had that before, and that is Chinese dumplings, soup dumplings. I can tell you a joke about that pronunciation, but I probably won't do it in the video just because I want to keep it as short as I can. All right, moving along. We now have a look at to get up. To get up. And that again is a verb that's made up of a verb plus object combination. The verb 起 means to arise, as it says. Well, it says there be up, but actually it means to arise. So, for example, if a parent sees a child lying on the floor and they want them to get up, they'll say to them 起来, 起来. So 起 means to get to arise, and 床 is a noun which means bed, as it says there on the list. So combining the two, it means to get out of bed. But it can also just mean to get up in the morning, or whenever it is that you get up, but the whole idea is that you're getting up from the bed. Okay, the next one is the verb to be late. 迟到, 迟到. And this is a verb plus verb combination. 迟 meaning to be late, and 到 meaning to arrive. So to be late, and generally it means, you know, when, say for example, if you're going to class, 上课, you could, it's common, or it would be polite to say, 老师对不起，我迟到了，我迟到了. So apologizing to the teacher, saying, I'm sorry, teacher, I am late. Next one, maybe, possible. So this is both an adverb and an adjective, and remember adverbs add to the meaning of the verb, and adjectives are descriptive words. They describe the characters or features of a noun of some sort. And this word maybe or possible is 可能. 可能. So if you want to use it as an adverb, you might say something like 他可能去. 他可能去. 可能 不去. So he may go or he may not go. So that's an example of where 可能 is used as an adverb, and as you can see, it comes before the verb 去, to go. You can also use it as an adjective. So if you want to say doing some particular thing is impossible, you would say that that thing is 不可能的,不可能的. So that's describing a character or featuristic of the difficulty of doing something like that. Okay, so moving on to sure or certain. 肯定, 肯定. And as it says here, 肯定 is an adjective or can be used as an adjective. And in our textbook, lesson 2, dialogue 1, we have a section where we're talking about one of the students who has not come to class, and the teacher and the other students are talking about what might have happened. And one of the students says, 大概还在睡觉呢. And we'll talk about what this all means. We'll go through the dialogues in the lecture. And then one of the other students says about the student who hasn't arrived yet, 不可能, 不可能. And that's the same in English as saying, that's not possible. 不可能. Let's see if we can get that to come up on screen. So here we go here. 不可能. That's not possible. So there we're using it as an adjective. Then we move on to the word for wrong. 错. 错. And again, as it says in the list there, that is an adjective. And when we look at our textbook, again, in dialogue 1 of lesson 2, the teachers and the students are speculating about the student still. And one of them has said, maybe this student hasn't arrived yet, is still asleep. Another student says that's not possible. And then a third student goes on and says, 你们都错了. 你们都错了. Which is saying you are all wrong. Okay, so here we're using 错 as an adjective, but we can also with 错, for example, another way that we can use it, and I think we'll come across this later on. This is something a little bit more advanced grammar wise, but you have later on we're going to learn about verbs plus complements, and we're going to learn about verbs plus resultative complements. And what that means is the verb tells you the action. So for example, we can use the verb 说 to say, and then it talks about the result of that action. And to express the result of that action, you add another word or character afterwards. And in this case, you can add the word wrong, 错. So you can say 说错. 说错, which means to say something incorrectly. Anyhow, for the moment, we're just going to use it fairly simply as an adjective. Moving along, we've got body or health. So the word in Chinese is 身体, 身体. And sometimes it's when you're first learning Chinese, it can be a little confusing. If somebody says to you, "Oh, 你的身体很好," you might be tempted to think they're talking about your body, when in fact, actually, what they're talking about is your health, and they're saying that your health is very good. But I don't know, if you're talking about something like, somebody getting injured, you might talk about them being injured somewhere on the body. Well, then 身体 would mean body, but more often than not, it means health. It depends on the circumstances. However, you can combine it with words like the next one, comfortable, which in Chinese is 舒服, 舒服. Now that's an adjective, So, for example, if I want to say I'm comfortable, 我很舒服. If you want to say I'm very comfortable, 我非常舒服. But also, in relation to sickness, you can say 我不舒服. 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 And that equates to, or that means, I am feeling unwell, or I'm sick. Okay, that's one way of saying I'm sick. So, and also you can give a longer version of that. You can say 我身体不舒服. 我身体不舒服. So I am not well. So here, 身体 means body. My body is not feeling comfortable. But what it means is I'm not feeling well. 我身体不舒服. If for example though, you then said something like, 我身体不好. This second one, maybe if I split that up and so that you can see, let me just quickly get rid of the arrow. Harder than I thought. Go back here. And so we're going to say that means I am feeling unwell again. And if we go down here, 我身体不好 means literally, my health is not good. My health is not good. And that's referring to not just feeling, well, I guess feeling sick, but also it's sort of like a bigger concept where, you're not in good health. So there's two examples of how 身体. First one here is literally, I am feeling unwell, my body is feeling uncomfortable. 我身体不舒服. And then the second one is talking about my health in general is not good. Then if we go down to the next word, to be ill or sickness. So this word 病 is both a verb, to be ill, and also a noun, sickness. So for example, you could say something like 我病了. 我病了. Which would mean, so let me just get that in characters, 我病了. Which means I am sick. And because of the on the end, it means literally to become or have become sick. So there's been a change of state from when you were healthy and well to now when you're sick. 我病了. Or the other way, if you want to use it as a noun, you can say 我有病. Okay, which is literally, well, in Chinese it's literally I have sickness, but it's also like saying I am sick. But using being as a noun. Now, how do I know in this second example I'm using being as a noun? Because the character that comes before it, 有, is a verb to have. Hopefully that makes sense. So literally I have sickness, and there being is used as a noun. So it's probably more common to say 我病了. 我病了. We are actually going to be doing an exercise in our simulated Chinese township on Chinese Island, where you guys will be going to a clinic and you'll actually be talking to virtual nurses and doctors and so on, and have to explain to them that you're unwell and why you're unwell. So moving along, well, actually, so on Chinese Island, you're going to go to a clinic, not a hospital. But a hospital in Chinese is 医院. 医院. And if you look at the characters for that, 医 is the word for medicine or medical. And so, for example, if you want to know the word for doctor, then where am I going to put that? I might just put that there. The word for doctor is 医生. 医生. And if you think about how that is constructed, think about the word for student, which we've learned before, which is 学生. 学生. So the common thing between 医生 and 学生, of course, is 生. So 生 is a person that does something specific in terms of a profession. And so 学生 is somebody whose job at the time is to study. And 医生 is somebody whose profession is medicine. So 医, and then the yuan, the second part of that, the second character of that, the yuan, means some kind of place that is used for a specific purpose. So in this case, the place is used for the practice of medicine, yi yuan, and generally it's talking about a bigger kind of place or organization. Moving along, number 20, we've got the expression 正在, and it says here in the explanation a key word for progressive actions. So really the main thing that we need to know is if we want to explain that something is some action or situation is ongoing, then we add 正在 or the next character 在 before the verb. So you can say, for example, 我正在学习汉语. I am studying Chinese. Now with the 正在, there's more of an emphasis on right now. Okay, right now. You could also say, for example, 我在学习汉语. I am studying Chinese. So that's less sort of right now and just more in general. I am studying Chinese. So the point here to take away is that it's 正在 plus verb. 我在 plus verb. Anyhow, we'll look at more of that in the grammar to come. So we have our next one, 23, which is 还 still or yet. And again, sorry, I've jumped over one. I'll come back to that. Still or yet. So it's an adverb, and so therefore it's going to come before the verb. So you might say, for example, I think in our textbook might say something. We see an example of something which is like, she is still sleeping. 她还在. There's a combination of 还 plus 在. 睡觉. She is still sleeping. So the takeaway from this is that 还 is placed before verbs to say that action or state is still happening or still being done. I need to go back up to this one up here. This is a really important one. 已经. So this is in a way the opposite of 还, and as it says there, it means already. 已经. And because it's an adverb, it's always placed before the verb. So you might say, in the case of our example, 他还在睡觉, you might say, I'm going to put the example down here, 他已经起床了. She has already got up. Okay, so that's just a simple example. That's actually one of the ones that comes up in the dialogue, how you use 已经. Now the last one on here, which I think we actually probably have already covered in previous lessons, but anyhow, 没 meaning not. I think in the last lesson I asked the question, when do you use 不 and when do you use 没? 没, generally speaking, is used when you're referring to something in the past. If somebody asks you, for example, last year, 你有没有去中国? Did you go to China? 你有没有去中国? You can say in the positive, 我去了. Don't say 我有去. That's wrong. I don't know where people get that from. It's just 我去了. But you can also say 我没有去. So 没 or 没有, and you can use either 没 on its own or the two together, 没有, can be placed before a verb of some sort, like 去, to say that that thing didn't happen, or that thing didn't exist. So that's when referring to things in the past. If you said, for example, 我不去中国, that means either I don't want to go or I'm not going. But it doesn't. That only refers to sort of the current situation or the future situation. But also, as I explained in the previous lesson, if we talk about something sort of more general like habit, so for example, I don't smoke, then you would use 不, because 不 can refer to something that didn't exist in the past, doesn't exist or happen now, and won't in the future. So I don't smoke. I don't smoke. 我不抽烟, and that's 抽烟. I don't smoke. So basically what that is saying is that I don't in the past, I don't now, I didn't in the past, I don't now, and I won't in the future. It's something that habitually I don't do.